Now we're going to take a look at example, let's see what example that was. Example 6 on page 326. I don't want you to be confused about what this is asking for. It asks for the APR, and there is a formula on page 325 which calculates APR, but the formula on page 325 calculates the APR when you're given a simple interest rate. In example 6, which is typed above, there is no interest rate. Okay, so this is one of the things that you have to look at. There's no interest rate here, so you know you're not going to be using that formula. So you have to figure out what it is that you are using. And it says a payday loan company provides short-term loans ranging from $250 to $2,000. The cost of the loan is $1 per day. So that's the finance charge. In other words, that's the interest. It's not the interest rate, but it's the interest. And it's $1 per day per $100 borrowed until the loan is repaid. So in other words, if you borrow $100, you're going to pay $1 for that just for having the loan for 1 day. So this is asking for the interest. Now, in a situation like this, you're really just talking about your interest formula, your simple interest formula. And you do actually have everything that you need to fill that in. You have the amount of interest, which is $1. You have the principal, which is you're borrowing $100. And this part right here where it talks about borrowing $250 to $2,000, they haven't given you an amount that you have actually borrowed. So you can only use what you've got here in the information, and that's assuming that you borrowed $100. So times the rate. You don't have the rate, that's what you're looking for. And the time for this fee is only 1 day, and time is always in years. So 1 would be out of 365 days. And you would take that and you would punch it in your calculator. And over here, since you're trying to get R by itself, what you're really doing is you're going to have to divide both sides by this amount. So you're going to take your calculator and you're going to need to make sure that you punch this in correctly. You're going to punch in 1 divided by, and then you're going to do parentheses 100 times another parentheses 1 divided by 365. And you're going to close that parentheses and close the other set of parentheses. And when you do that, you're going to get what R is equal to. So R is going to be equal to 3.65. That's what that comes out to. And so when you do that, this gives you the rate, but remember that this gives it to you as a decimal. So our rate, we would multiply it by 100, or we would move the decimal over 2 places. So our rate for this payday loan would be 365%. Now remember, this is yearly. Remember that 100% of something is basically doubling it. So if I borrowed $100 and I paid 100% interest, I would be paying back $100. This is over 300%. So this is a very, very high interest rate. And this is what happens lots of times in the payday rates. They give you a fee like they did in this one. They tell you it's a dollar. Sounds so little when you're just talking about $1 per day. But when you think of it in terms of interest, this is what the interest rate ends up being on this payday loan. So you've got to be really careful if you're going to end up doing payday loans.